January 15th, 1919, Boston, Massachusetts, a storage tank containing approximately 2.3 million gallons of molasses suddenly burst, sending a deadly 15-foot wave of molasses through the streets of Boston's North End, killing 21 people and injuring 150. It would become known as the Great Molasses Flood, and it's one of the most bizarre industrial accidents in American history. Initially, the blast sent a rush of air that injured a number of people and caused some damage itself, but then came the fast-moving wave of warm molasses that killed 21 people and a number of animals in a truly horrific fashion. You see, the molasses was initially warm, but once outside of the tank, it started to cool down and thicken up, trapping everything and everyone that was swept up inside of it, and they were either crushed or drowned. Some survivors said that their throats had been completely clogged with molasses, and the thickness of the molasses made rescue attempts incredibly difficult. And rescuers reported that they couldn't even tell who was a person and who was an animal. All they could see was the desperate thrashing of those completely enveloped in the molasses. They said that horses stuck to the streets like flies on fly traps, and the bodies recovered were completely unrecognizable because they were just entirely coated in molasses. Now, this was a completely avoidable incident, but the United States Industrial Alcohol Company, which owned the tank, had completely ignored safety warnings and proper protocols for years. And the tank had been leaking for so long that the locals knew that they could just go to the tank with their own storage containers and just collect the leaking molasses. There were a number of issues that needed to be addressed with the tank, but rather than address any of that, they simply painted the outside of the tank brown so that you couldn't see the leaks. And days before the flood, the tank had been filled to near capacity, and a sudden temperature shift caused the molasses to expand and then burst through the poorly constructed tank. Now, this incident was, a completely avoidable tragedy, but it did lead to a push for legislation that would hold corporations accountable for engineering failures, and it contributed to stricter building codes, safety inspections, and engineering standards in the United States. The cleanup for this was an incredibly difficult and tedious task, and the essence of molasses never fully went away. Molasses became a signature scent in the North End of Boston for years, and decades after the incident, locals reported that during the summer, the heat would bring back the smell of molasses and even make the roads tacky and sticky. So next time someone says that you're being slow as molasses, you can say, well, actually, molasses can sometimes move at a terrifying 35 miles per hour and kill people in a really fucked up way. So you better thank your lucky stars. That is not the molasses I am bringing to the table today.